Hi, I'm Claire Dunphy-Hamani, and thanks for listening in today. Joining me today is Gina Jackson from Gutenberg, New Jersey, and her studio is called Pilates for Fitness. And hi, Gina. Thanks for giving the time to talk with us today. And for our audience, I just want to say that Gina Jackson is a Pilates Avatar, not only ambassador, but authorized studio owner. And she has a really interesting story. And I just want to start, Gina, by just telling a little bit about yourself and how you got into Pilates and, start there.
Okay, thanks, Claire. So I started Pilates when I left corporate America at 45 years of age. Got tired of wearing stockings and decided to put on spandex. No, that's a joke. No, I left corporate because I needed to change my job. And I decided, I think in 2003, I got certified to teach beginner mat and intermediate mat. And then 3 years later, after working one-on-one with Power Pilates, I got certified comprehensively and started teaching on the apparatus, obviously. 45 years is when I decided to change my life and jump off the cliff and leave what I was doing as a VP Strategic Alliances and become a Pilates teacher. Back. Not turning back. The studio that I have, I actually celebrated about a month ago, the 7th year being in the studio, in a commercial space. Obviously, I've been teaching for about 15 years. So Pilates is definitely a part of who I am. It's a part of how I express myself. It's a part of how people know me now. It is my life. So that's me.
It's part of you. It's part of you. I love it. Hey, so, one of the questions that I never asked you before was, did you have any mentors, number one? And number two is, what made you take the leap to have your own studio commercially? Because I know that you had one that was, like in your home. So those two questions. Did you have any mentors and what made you take the leap?
First mentor, I get to be Susan Moran-Perick. She was the creator of Power Pilates, or she was the director there. She certainly created the whole program. She studied under Ramana, out of SUNY Purchase, and she and Juliet Harvey, who is now up in Beacon, New York, and a director there for All Sport. Juliet is the director at Beacon Pilates as well as All Sport Pilates, up in the Beacon, Hudson County area. And Susan, I think, is now out in Long Island, but the two of them were the first people I fell in love with. And they're the ones that helped me find Pilates for myself, literally, specifically. I've touched base with so many teachers. Brett Howard is another one that I consider to be a strong coach and mentor. I have the pleasure just recently of getting a Facebook request from Mary Bowen. I'm not sure why, but I applaud it and I'm excited. I'm actually going to be meeting Mary. There's going to be a Power Pilates conference that she's teaching sometime in December. So I'm right now at the point that I'm stretching out, trying to touch base with as many elders, if you will, since I happen to be not a youngster anymore. So I want to touch base and see if I can't find, as you said, a mentoring relationship with people who have been in the system and in the community for a long time. That's where I'm going to learn the most from. You, I hope, will be an ongoing mentor relationship as well, Claire.
Well, thanks, Gina. This is how that's what I did. I studied with Ramana, but, have had time with Mary Bowen and have had time with Jay Grimes and have had some time with Lolita San Miguel. And I never had really a chance to meet Corolla or Kathy Grant. So, but through Blossom and some of the other people that were very close to Kathy, and that's how we grow. I mean, I think it's so important to hear the different voices and to gather their perspectives, and it kind of helps us be rooted in who we are for definite sure. So you got your commercial space, and what I want to know, and what I think our listeners want to know, is how has Pilates Avatar, how did you find Pilates Avatar? How do you work it into your space? How do you work it with your clients? And, how is it working in your environment? And maybe give us a little backdrop of what, the size of your studio, so that people listening can relate to that.
Okay. Yeah, you did ask the question. I don't think I answered it. How did I get to the commercial space? I did say that I just celebrated 7 years being in it. And I think the transition came, I was just kind of wanting my living room back. I mean, I'm sitting in my living room now having this conversation with you, and literally my reformer, a mat, the Wonder chair, my ladder barrel was in here. I didn't have a dining room table. And I think I did that for about, at least in this apartment, I did it for about 2 or 3 years. I needed floor space for mat classes. I was renting space from any floor that I could get. I rented a space in the lounge area of a restaurant. I rented a small space in a daycare center. I mean, I could get this place, I would fill it. And then the apparatus work I did in the apartments that I had, and there were a couple of them. So when I decided that I wanted my house back and I didn't want anybody else coming into my guest bathroom, I said, okay, it's now time to go find a commercial house. And I had the success of finding one that was inside the building that I live. So I grew my community that way. And so that's how I started commercially, and moving out of my home and into what is about a 900 square feet spot. I've got 2 reformers. I've got 2 Wonder chairs. I have tower space, which I'm planning on probably putting up some of those balance body springboards. Right now I use them as TRX stations. I have a half Cadillac. I have ladder barrels and all the small barrels. And that's the space that I do primarily private client training. And then I do have beginner, intermediate, and advanced mat classes regularly during the week. So it's a small space. I run it myself. I'm trying to build some teachers to practice their own work there and bring their own business. So it's another avenue that I'm trying to cultivate, if you will, and create a space for some other teachers to join me in the work. But right now I've been running it for myself, as I said, for about 7 years in this space.
Cool. Well, congratulations. That's a big deal. And I like your vision. I like how you're like, it seems like you think your thought, your vision, and then you build your life and it fits and it just happens. That's how it sounds to me, that you think the thought and then you manifest it because you're thinking about it. That's cool.
That is true. I if you don't put the plan down on paper, you're not going to work the plan. And so yes, I do a lot of organized planning and thinking. I have to manage the business that way. I manage my life that way, and I've managed the growth of it that way. So thank you for observing that.
Yeah, no, really. So okay, now tell us about how you found Pilates Avatar, and what is it? How is it working in your studio? How like from the business side, from like how you charge for it, etc. So that maybe we can give some ideas to our listeners about how they might bring it to their place.
So I actually remember laying on a reformer with Brett, and that's how I found it. I think I was on your newsletter. It had to be 2 years ago, Claire, that I think you started Pilates Avatar, or maybe you were building it then. But I remember laying on a reformer to him. I got a newsletter from you, and I said, oh my God, this looks fantastic. And it looks like a really clear, concise way to deliver a streamed or what I thought at the time was a download, of workouts that would supplement what I wanted to provide for my mat students in particular. And he told me all the work that you put into it. The platform just looked, crisp and clean. And when I was able to eventually sign up, as you said, as an ambassador to the studio, and then set up all the circumstances so that my students would basically understand that this was something that they could use supplemental to their own work. And that's how I began encouraging, particularly the math students and some of my private students who would be traveling. I have clients that come in once or twice a week, and they can't remember what they need to be doing. I give people homework, and so I suggested to them that they use the avatar to support their own training when they're away from me or can't get to me, because life won't let that happen. And so I've started in the last 6 to 8 months just encouraging that way. Your little postcards sit at the front desk, and right where they get their parking ticket to get out of the studio. So they're always readily available to walk away and take their avatar program with them. What I have started to do this month, in fact, it went out in my newsletter just 2 days ago, is to put open studio hours on early morning, 3 days a week at 7 o'clock in the morning. And I built it as a class such that it's priced below a private session, and it's a slightly more than a math class. But only people who would be able to access this are those who have experience with the apparatus, but they could sign in to have 4 people in the room that would use the apparatus and the avatar as the teacher. And so we'll see how that works.
Oh, that's great. I that's how I do it in my studio too. I have known hours that work out, and then they can always text me because I can always wiggle somebody else in. But I think that the underlying essence is how exciting is it when people own their workout, right? It's just like so exciting. And for me, like, when I watch them, like, remember transitions from week after, or, it's just they're clean, they're tight. And then they come for a lesson with me and I can move on because they're practicing. And what a huge difference it makes. Yeah.
Right. It does make you feel like all the work you've been doing as a teacher has a payoff. Yes. When you can stand back and just watch and slight cue and slight touch and they do the work. Yes.
Yeah, and I think too is that, like, it's a stepping stone, Pilates Avatar, because it's an audio, they're listening. But that's how we learn. I mean, when clients are with us, that's what we're doing. We're cueing them, and we pride ourselves on our cueing and our choice of words and things that get them moving. And so I'm just really excited. I have to also say that you were one of the first pioneers that hopped on board, and for that I'm grateful, but especially because it sounds like you've had a lot of teachers, and so you know the value of having different voices express the same thing. And I feel like it's an opportunity for our, people out there in the world to actually hear a different voice.
I totally agree with you, Claire.
Yeah, it's just to hear a different voice. It's affordable. It's, it's convenient. Now it's just a matter of, like, having more people get on board. And we have a niche community, I think, because we're Pilates people. It's, and so I really appreciate your early support, just want to say. And, and then using social media as a way to get the word out that this is a really viable way to step it up and offer something for students that it's not so fancy, but it's a new offering. It's a new offering at the studio.
I agree with you. I look at it as a wonderful consumer equivalent to Bodyzology. That platform, I think, is for teachers. I used it for myself. It gives me access to all those other voices you were talking about around the world that I wouldn't be able to get to just an audio listening. And so the avatar with your voice and the programs that you built gives my students, as you said, another teacher's voice, but it's a quality equivalent to the Pilatesology and having a teacher from around the world that they can help, their own training. And that's why I think that it's the best. To me, it's the best tool right now, for people who are going to be traveling and certainly going to be active on their own and away from their home studios.
Yeah, well, thank you, Gina. All right, listen, can you share a success story? Do you have a success story?
I remember there are at least 2 or 3, again, Matt, because I haven't pulled in the apparatus piece of it. So, I've had at least 2 or 3 students come back to me. One that traveled to Italy, one went to Switzerland. Jeff is someone who's recovering from cancer. Their responses were, oh my God, that was some workout, Gina. That they got it, they felt it. These were advanced math students. And the 2 that went out of the country were private one-on-one students. So they were doing math. They weren't using the apparatus. So there was a different voice. And yeah, somebody said, oh, I don't know what she was talking about, but I had to go look at the pictures, but it all worked. So with they were happy, it makes me happy. And then I help to communicate that through continued talk inside the studio, other students are hearing their conversations when they're saying it. And so the word will continue to grow, and that's how you're going to do it. That's how we're going to do it.
Well, thank you. Fantastic, Gina. Again, I appreciate it. You can find Gina at Pilates4fitness.com.
I'm all over social media.
You're everywhere. And thank you once again, Gina. And I will be talking with you soon.
Thank you, Claire. Have a good trip.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay.